On this day 100 years ago, Howard Carter's journal was strangely short, and probably for a good reason. Welcome to part 26 of Tutomania, and let's learn about a little-known fact about one of the huge ethical missteps of the excavation of the tomb of Tutankhamun. First, let me read out what his journal stated on November 28, 1922. Most of this day was spent in preparing for an official opening of the tomb to take place on the morrow, the 29th. Engelbach, the chief inspector, retired from Kenna by the midday train, came over to the valley on his motorcycle in the afternoon and inspected the discovery. And that's it. There weren't obviously many details on how they were actually preparing for the opening of the tomb, but it appears that Carter, Lord Carnarvon, and Lady Evelyn did do one more thing that day, and it most likely violated the rules of the concession or the permit for the site and went against every ethical standard of archaeologists at the time. At the time, archaeologists who found any sort of tomb in ancient Egypt had to consult with the inspector of antiquities to be able to move within the different rooms of the tomb, especially if those rooms were found sealed like Tutankhamun's tomb. So when Engelbach most likely came to visit the tomb, he probably reminded Carter that he was not allowed to breach this sealed doorway until an inspector was present. Though we don't actually have any primary evidence of this act because Carter's journals do not mention it and nowhere else is this mentioned, it is more than likely that Carter, Carnarvon, and Lady Evelyn created a small hole in this doorway to essentially check out what would later be called the burial chamber. When you look at these official photos of the tomb, you will see that there is a cleverly placed basket in this pile of reeds and sticks. The passage that they most likely created is behind that basket. Carter most likely decided to do this because he wanted to confirm that this tomb was a tomb and not a cache. Because to make it a tomb, you need a mummy. And this burial chamber is a particularly tight room because it is filled with 4 shrines, a stone sarcophagus, and then 3 coffins that are all fitting together like a Russian doll set. Though it's not totally clear, the group most likely noticed that the first shrine of Tutankhamun's burial chamber had broken seals, probably from the looters. But they might have opened the doors to this shrine and found the perfectly intact seals on the second shrine, implying that the mummy had never been touched. They most likely then plastered the hole, covered it up with the basket, and the burial chamber was never entered again until February 17, 1923 for its official opening, where these photos come from. So what do you think? Ethical misconduct or necessary step?